So to start off with, can I ask you to introduce yourself, please, Tara?
Hello, my name is Tara Kelly, and I'm the Committee Clerk to the Joint Committee on Education, Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science in the Oireachtas, which is the Irish Parliament.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about how you bring young people into the work of the committee? This has been going on for a number of years, so you have quite a lot of experience in this area. How do you go about it, and why do you think it's important?
Well, I think from the outset, the chairman, or the Cathaoirleach as he's known in Ireland, and the committee made an absolute decision that they wanted young people to be at the centre of all the committee examinations. And the committee took a kind of a distinct decision to focus on a key issue, one very key policy issue at a time, such as our Leaving Certificate reform, school bullying and the impact on mental health, and mental health supports in schools and other issues. And in the context of that, then we would do up a model, and I would get them to agree the model, and that would be how we would proceed with the examination. And in every one of those examinations, the young people were integral to it. Now, we would go to the Irish Second Level Students' Union, but we would also, for instance, in the school bullying, have sourced organisations like Webwise that were being manned and volunteered by young people. A number of individual students and schools had taken the time, and students, to write in on key policy issues themselves. And I cold called those young people, and I sort of spoke to them. And then when there was an issue the committee were looking at, they would come in. And I suppose the key point as well was that these were not going to be token students. And the idea was that you would ask them to do up a very clear but concise written submission, exactly the same as you would to any other witness coming in, as a preparatory document, and then they would come before the committee. And I can genuinely say that their contributions have influenced the reports, they're cited in the reports, and they've led to some of the recommendations in the reports. And we've had some of the most compelling meetings, especially to do with the mental health supports, where those of the students who spoke. And I think it's because in the students in the different in education, be it in secondary, post-primary or in tertiary, they are the reason why the schools are there, the colleges are there, and they should be centre stage to any decisions that are being taken. And I think they respected the fact and understood they were being taken seriously, and they were being treated as like the other witnesses. But the one point I would make, I suppose, about that is you do need to give them, I suppose, preparation. You do need to give them advice. You need to engage with them before the meetings, because they do need that extra bit of support, or their teachers as well, to tell them how this is going to operate. So that would really be, I suppose, the principles we based it on. And as the time has evolved, it's now just part of the culture of the committee. Every forward in the in every report, the chairman will have in the published report references the absolute fundamental importance of the young people. And it really has, certainly in my opinion, and I think in the reports, all it has done is enhanced and brought a new dimension to the reports that just would have been missing if the young people hadn't been involved.
Thanks very much for sharing. You talk about the importance of preparation, of course, and making sure that everyone sort of knows what to expect. Do you also have a sense of the impact on the young people themselves? How do they reflect on it afterwards? How do they look back on their day in committee? Because it's, of course, quite a big thing for a 15 or a 16-year-old to appear before a committee. Do you have an idea of what the experience is like for them?
We will get very, very positive feedback. And often what has happened is they've become almost like auxiliary members of not of the committee, but they would come back for repeat appearances. So one group came in initially on their social innovation program that they were involved in and that they had won. But then, because of what they said that day, they came back because they had very, very impressive, I would say, views and insights into mental health and into very serious mental health issues. So they came back on that, to the point where they would even be bringing in some gifts to say thank you for, and I know one other student's teacher spoke to me about how she felt for him, and the child has some additional needs, and that was life-changing, because suddenly he had a voice here, and he was very, very articulate. And again, it was with a few early tutorials that I would have given him on how to present the written submission and how to do it. And then we also had, in the tertiary sector in further education, had apprentices in, and it would come back, the feedback from them was that they would be asking if there's another one on in the future funding for further and higher education, could we please come in? And they would ask to come in, and they would take more time to send in written submissions. So I'd say that shows the substantial nature on both sides of it, and that the contributions they're making, and that they want to come back, but not just to get on the television, shall we say, but to actually make more of a substantive contribution. So there's no question. And the secondary school students union did say that in previous Dáil they felt they were being excluded, whereas now they're brought in and given the exact same status as the teachers unions, and that they come in as well. And I think that they appreciate that, and they have built up a relationship, certainly with me, and they know they come to me with issues when as they arise and stuff, and if they want to articulate or make a point about something. So there's a two-way process now, I feel, in an open one, very open process.
Yeah.
Communication.
So you've really established good lines of communication, and as you say, you know them and they know you, and there is a collaboration really in the work that you do. You've also talked previously about the importance to have a diverse group of young people come in, to not always go to the usual suspects, if you will. Could you maybe just elaborate a little bit? You've mentioned cold calling. How do you find them? How do you make sure that you have that diversity of youth voices in the committee?
Yeah, I think that again was something that certainly even on a personal level that I would have been in doing up the proposals for the committee, been very made aware of, because in the past there was a tendency, and there had been a group down and Oak, but the children tended to be of, I suppose, more upper middle class children, and there certainly wouldn't have been a range of voices and of ethnicity in that, which is the case now. So it would have been a combination of, even, and my chair himself saw one on the paper one day of children who web-wise and down the country who were engaging in volunteering in this, and it was sort of monitoring the web and activity that could lead to school bullying and that. Then there would be some people had written in. Then we found we went through different schools to see different awards that they may have won for different a varied amount of competitions, and from that maybe to make contact with those people. And each time when you do contact them, it's amazing how they really do want to be involved. And then there was a few individual students that I came across who had written in, one to the Count Corla about a roof in his school that got damaged. He was in first year, and about trying to get the grants from the Department of Education. I was fascinated by this young lad, and he's ended up coming into 3 meetings since and writing very valuable submissions. And so it will be trying to make sure that you're getting geographical spread, but also the type of child that comes in. And the one that we probably haven't really been as successful as we could is to just try and get more ethnic minorities in. That's just something that's just, and even with the Ukrainian, we did a report on Ukrainian students who've been displaced coming in, and it was just difficult to find the people. But it's something, it's a big issue, and not just with education, but trying to make sure the voices of the people who are being affected and displaced are actually being heard, rather than Irish voices saying what they need or whatever, So that would be the way it's worked. But I suppose it's also, Ireland is a small country. I would kind of know from the different schools who and what they represent, and you do try and get a sort of a balance, without at the same time focusing on, we have to have all disadvantaged, underrepresented people, because you don't want to be making an issue of any one group of people either, and almost a sort of not feeling sorry for them way, but that's not the case either. It's just anybody who has voices to be heard. We've also came across, and we championed the case of a particular alternative education centre doing Trojan work in Cork, and from that we were able to get students across the board there who would have had some of them very serious mental health issues, and some of them would have had trauma or addiction issues. And they also came before the committee, and their voices were very compelling. So that's really how we did it in a few different ways.
Yeah. Well, that shows, I think, that you have an enormous breadth of experience and expertise in this area already, right? You've been doing this for a number of years, so you feel comfortable, I think, in knowing where to go and how to do this. And maybe my final question then, for those committees and those parliaments that are starting out, that maybe haven't done this yet or haven't done this that often, what is the advice that you would give them in getting to where you are now? What would you suggest that they think of or they do?
I think the first thing will be to find out what organisations are going. Is there a national second level students' union? If there isn't, it could be actually a role for the committee to champion the establishment of one through their relevant Department of Education, because then you have a voice for the students, the same as you would have a voice for teachers and the teachers' unions, or in different representative bodies. That would be the first thing. And I think then a very good, just it has worked, is the way of going about it is to pick a very specific topic. For instance, in Ireland, leaving certificate reform, because our final year examination is such a big deal in this country, too much perhaps of a big deal. And from that then, you're developing a work schedule and making sure to sort of see where you can put the children in. School bullying was another one. Find out the organisations. In Ireland we had Webwise, and we would have had other ones. And then, as well as that, keep an eye on if there's any documents or correspondence coming in from young people themselves. But I think so. And then when they do come in, they're coming in very well prepared on a particular issue, and they understand that they really need, that the committee really wanted to listen to what they had to say, but it's on something that is meaningful to them. So what I observed, particularly when they came in on the Social Innovators Programme, the whole issues around peer pressure, mental health, definitely, and the anxiety levels, and the what had happened during COVID, they really cared about those. So also I would say in the first instance, it maybe the secretariat or the committee members together to say what would be a very important issue for us to look at, but one that is very important to students. And the most recent case then was when we looked at deaf education and the needs, and the person who came in who was deaf himself, and actually his parents would be deaf as well, and he had a very compelling story. He was able to really inform the committee and onto the Department of Education exactly the kind of the problems that people who are not deaf just wouldn't understand in terms of education. And so you're bringing people in on something that really means something to them, and you will reap the benefits, because they will come forward with very good perspectives and insights that you mightn't have come across before. So that would be really, I suppose, on a basic level, what I would say. Yeah.
That's a fantastic note to finish on, I think. Thank you very much, Tara, for sharing your experience. I hope we'll have a number of parliaments also sharing this in the months and years to come, so we can compare notes. And I wish you all the best in the future. Very little, but still room for improvement that you've touched on, and I look forward to seeing how you continue.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.